My journey as a cricket fan started in 1974. In fact, I vividly remember it was the winter of 1974. My winter vacations had just started. I'd finished my final exams for class 3, and I was at home, passing my time playing cricket, in the ground outside my home. We just finished the cricket season at school also, where we used to play cricket. So I was pretty much familiar with the game, but I had never really followed it at the international level. And I heard about the Indian cricket team traveling and playing these test matches. In fact, that 1974 summers itself, the Indian cricket team had traveled to England and had a pretty disastrous tour. The highlight of the tour being bowled out for 42 runs. And I was aware of some of the cricketers who were a part of the Indian cricket team. Sunil Gavaskar, Vishwanath, engineer, the famous spin quartet, Bedi, Prasanna, Chandrasekhar and Venkat. So you were aware of the games, but that was pretty much it. Never really followed the game with a lot of interest. In fact, one of the reasons why probably that was happening was because my routine was that I would leave home at about 8 in the morning and come back at 5 in the evening, and test matches in India, cricket in India, would start at about 9:30 in the morning and finish by about 4:30. So by the time we came back home, the action was pretty much over. And in those days, portable transistors were also not very common. So you wouldn't see people listening to the radio commentary outside the home, so that you would get interested and ask what was happening. So you were pretty much oblivious of what was happening as far as the international game was concerned. But that changed in that winter. I was at home, and I said transistors were not there, but people had these bulky radio sets at home, and we had one at home. And I found my elder brother, glued to the radio set, listening to the cricket commentary, and he was jotting down the details of every delivery being bowled, and that's the kind of interest that he was following the game with. And I got intrigued, and I sat next to him and asked him what is it that he was following. And he then explained to me that the West Indies cricket team was visiting India for a 5-test match series, led by Clive Lloyd, one of their all-time most successful captains, and of course the Indian team was being led by Venkat Raghavan in that test match. So the test match where I started following this game was being played at Delhi, and this must have been the second or the third day of the action. And there was this batsman called Vivian Richards, who just kept on scoring runs. He scored like 192 runs in that innings. Vivian Richards, of course, who would go on to become one of the greatest batsmen of the game. But he had made his debut in that series in the first test match at Bangalore, along with another great batsman of the West Indies team, Gordon Greenidge, who was one of the best openers that the game has seen. So these were the players who played that test match. India, of course, lost this test match. But another thing that helped me visualize things better was that my brother showed me a magazine, a magazine called Dharam Yug, which used to be a Hindi fortnightly magazine that used to get published in those days. And in the central page of the magazine, there was photographs of all the West Indies players. And I think probably my first experience of seeing photographs of international players, and that was completely mind-blowing. I was mesmerized by what I saw on the page there, and I in fact started imagining the action unfolding in the cricket field with these players being involved. Of course, what brought things to life, of course, was also the radio commentary, and the radio commentators of those days, broadcast by the All India Radio, the ball-by-ball description, or the Aankhon Dekha Haal in Hindi, as they would call it, played a huge role in bringing you the details of what was happening in the field to you. Of course, you had to, use your imagination to figure out what might be happening in the field, and I thought that added another dimension to the joy of following the game in those days. More about what the commentators did later, but that's how my interest in the game started. And India won that test match by 85 runs. And to the cherry on the top of the cake was that the victory came on the 1st of January 1975.